Welcome to Your Space Journey, where we venture into the future of space exploration and the incredible leaders who are taking us there. Here's your host, Chuck Fields.
Hey everyone, we're just a few days away from an historic mission, the launch of SpaceX Crew Demo-2 with astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley. This will be the first time that astronauts have been launched from American soil since 2011. This will also be the first time that astronauts have been launched in a new spacecraft in 39 years. To celebrate this incredible occasion, I invited a few friends to join me with an awesome Zoom discussion today from my past NASA socials. So sit back, listen to us as we talk about and debate the Crew Dragon Demo-2 mission.
Your Space Journey.
Let's start real quick. If we can go round robin and just kind of everyone say who you are, and if you want to talk about, hey, I have this website, or hey, I have this business, talk about it. Just tell me, just briefly, your name, who you're from, and I don't know, some interesting tidbit about you in space. So why don't we start?
I remember how this failed at our. Do you remember when we did this at our NASA experience and how it failed? We made it like not even a third of the way around the room.
You know what sucks is I went to the NASA social, Danielle, a month after that. I was in NASA social, so I sat on the other side of the room. So I get to it. They started on the other side of the room, and they still didn't get to me. I don't know. I'm just like crazy. But anyway, Danielle, ladies first.
Oh, okay. Danielle Spinola. I own Tupelo Honey Teas in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can see my wide variety of teas back here.
Beautiful.
We ship everywhere. So if you want to go to our website, www.tupelohoneyteas.com, you can see all the things that we offer. We're kind of twisting our business a little with COVID. We've closed our store and put in a takeout window, so it's going to be really interesting. But yeah, and I know some of the guys from the group from our NASA social. I guess that was last June.
That was almost 2 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. It was almost 2 years ago now. Oh my gosh.
2018. Yeah, I think it was June.
That's right. It was like June or early July. Yeah.
June. Wow.
Yeah, because I came home and my business flooded a week later.
Oh wow!
Whoa, that is just nuts. Hey, let's move on. Jordan, another business owner. Tell us about you.
Yeah, my name's Jordan Eichenblatt. I'm here in Orlando, Florida. I own a creative agency called High Five Creative. We do branding, video, creative, lead gen, you name it. And then on the side, my partner in High Five, we also own a hot dog company called Cholo Dogs, which is Mexican hot dogs.
Nice.
And we're actually in the middle of opening up our first brick and mortar location right now.
Wow.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, I got to get Jeremy's client out here.
I know, dude. I've been talking to him, honestly. Like, he knows about it. He knows about it. But his world has just been rocked lately. Like,
I know.
That's a whole nother story, but COVID has definitely affected the competitive eating world in some crazy ways.
Yeah. And then people remember me from NASA Social for Gaming the Idiot. If you can see my background, is me falling on the astronaut walkway.
Awesome.
I got to go back, and then Chuck remembered I did the little like the girly on the bed pose and the VAB, and I've done some crazy stuff. Had some NASA socials since, and NASA's actually working with them now on doing a lot of more stuff with it, which is really fun and cool. Kind of bringing that different approach. Like, I think, Jeremy, you took the picture of me in a SpaceX cone, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really excited about the cone.
That's a great transition. Jeremy, you go ahead.
So I work in the marketing space. My website is jeremyrossmeyer.com. I'm a marketing consultant, and I also work in the education and innovation space with my nonprofit, the Startup Foundation, and our website is startupfoundation.org. We work with high schoolers.
Wow, that's awesome. All right, Jason Fields.
All right, Jason Fields. My day job is I work in environmental for a utility in Tampa, Florida. What I do specifically is stack testing. So I climb a few hundred feet in the air and check exhaust stacks for emissions for regulatory compliance. All that stuff sounds boring, but that's my day job. I've been a space fan, like my whole life, basically, probably since I was 10 or 11 years old. I took a trip over to Kennedy Space Center with my family, for vacation. I grew up in Georgia, but we were down in Florida vacationing like most of the country does. And I can remember taking the bus tour, and I remember driving by the VAB. I've told this story to Chuck, and I've been on his podcast before, and I remember seeing the VAB and just thinking to myself, like, it's kind of the first time I ever registered, that's where history happened. They assembled the Saturn V's in there. They stacked the shuttles in there. It was just like a cool moment in my life. And then since then, it's just kind of been something I followed loosely, and then, more so at different times or whatever. But I'm really excited for the launch next week, man. We're launching Americans from American soil, and that's the way it should be,
Oh, that's going to be so exciting. And I love, Jordan, by the way, you're showing your awesome photo in the background that I will never forget.
So
ingrained in my memory forever, on the floor of the vehicle assembly building. The most professional shot I've ever seen in my life. Never a boring moment when Jordan's in the room, for sure. All right. Well,
as everyone was taking the same photo, I just wanted to do something different.
I love it. Now, Jason, you talked about this. Now all of us here we are. We've waited for this moment since 2011. I'm not trying to brag, but I was there. I don't know if anyone else was, for that last launch of the space shuttle in 2011. I have this video of my son. He was really tiny then, and he's bebopping around as this rocket goes up. Now he's graduating high school.
Wow.
So that's how long it's been
Wow.
since we've launched American astronauts from American soil.
Yeah.
What's going through some of your minds out there? Who wants to go first? Talk about this amazing experience.
I'm nervous. I don't know why I have a bad feeling.
I wonder, you mentioned that, Jordan. How come? Tell me more about that.
It started just from the way they announced that we were going back into space. I have a few friends that work at NASA who kind of gave me a tip a couple days before. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, what a weird time to announce it. It was during the pandemic that they announced this. We're going, this is the day we're going, we're going. And then just from everything from the SpaceX demo explosion on the launch pad to the tests, they're not really being clear about those tests passing again. And then the spaceflight director resigning. They're not using the NASA gray van to go to the launch pad. It's either me being superstitious or it just seems very strange to me. So I have a weird feeling, but I'm excited. We've all been waiting for this moment. I got to go to the SpaceX demo launch for NASA Social, and it was just really, really exciting. That's what we're going next in. And so it's nice that it's finally happening. And the new suits, they're weird.
I thought about that too. I thought about the new suits. But let's go right. Danielle, what are you thinking? Here we are, get ready to, if all goes well, they could launch as soon as Wednesday, May 27th. Backup day is Saturday, May 30th. What's going through your mind right now?
I think that it's super exciting that we're finally launching again from, U.S. soil. I think it's really ironic that in the middle of 2020, and it seems like everything that could possibly go wrong on the entire Earth is happening right now. Yeah. And it's I'm with Jordan a little bit superstitious about it. But I'm hopeful as well. I'm so glad that we're coming back and that we are now going to be back in I don't know, that nostalgic period of the 60s of the space race and going for it. And we've got, the goal of 2024 to hit Mars, or is it Mars?
The moon.
Or hit the moon.
Mm-hmm.
The moon with a woman going to the moon, which is super exciting. And
pretty
then,
cool.
The further goal of Mars. And I don't know, I hope that it's a good kickoff, but also 2020 has been so weird, and things that are happening murder hornets and all the other weird things that are popping up. I am a little superstitious.
Well,
Wow.
hurricane season is supposed to be like 40% more active than
I heard that. Yeah.
Is it really? Oh man! All right, Jeremy. What about you? Because
Yeah.
I'm fully aware. You know, Jordan, I appreciate you. You know, your gut instinct. I trust the gut instinct a lot sometimes. So when you said that, it does make me wonder. I'm foolishly optimistic as well. So, Jeremy, anyway, what's going through your mind?
It's been interesting because I have like this younger perspective on it. Like I'm 21, but like I know so many people either my age or younger, like the Gen Z. Like I've talked to, like, I wear NASA stuff often, and I've talked to a lot of younger people, and like the consensus that I've got, whether this is like, you know, truly validated or not, but younger people just felt like NASA has become like this National Geographic, like just cool pictures. It's just kind of like lost a lot of like relevancy when, like, if you look at the trickle down like innovation benefits that NASA has provided to the whole world and to the rest of humanity, like it's crazy, which is why one of the reasons why we're all passionate about it. So assuming it goes well, which, like, knock on wood, I'm just excited for like younger people to just like for example, Danielle, you talk about like the 60s space race, like that sounds crazy, but I can't even close to relate to anything even remotely near that at all. And I know you guys can't necessarily relate to the 60s. You guys are pretty young too, but still, I'm just excited for like young people to like get excited about space and space exploration. And Elon Musk has definitely done an interesting job with making space more relevant. But as of lately, either people have either like liked him even more, like they've been like converged into Elon Musk, or they've diverged with Elon Musk with some of his behaviors. So at the end of the day, this is just going to be, if it goes well, it'll be just a potential successful win for humans, especially America, within the space exploration kind of like sector. So if it goes well, I'm just excited to see more young people be more excited about stuff like that.
I love that perspective. If it goes well, we're all hoping it does.
Yes.
Jason, what's going through your mind?
So my first thought about all of this is I really wish we could all be there. And I think that most any of us would be there. You know, there typically would be a NASA social associated with this.
Yeah.
And everyone that we know that has an interest in space would be clamoring for one of those spots, right? Everybody would have applied. And hopefully we would have been selected and be there. But speaking to Jordan's point, there's a little cause for reservation from you know, like I'm hopeful. All of my fingers are crossed, right? You know, I want this to go great. I think it's a great look for the commercialization of space. I think it's great for us as a country. It's a rallying point, you know, like in a time where there's a lot of things that don't seem great or uncertain. You know, everybody is, the world's been shut down for the last couple of months. I think this could be something bright, you know, something that we can remember as like, even in this awful time, we return to space, and it could be the start of something, you know, wonderful, you know, the return to the moon and then onwards to Mars from there. But there is that little thing in the back of my mind, a slight reservation, you know, like I just hope things go right, you know. That's my thoughts.
Yeah.
I tell you, me too. Now, Jordan and Jason, you're our two participants who actually live in Florida. Now, I know, Jason, you're a little bit farther away. Jordan, you're kind of closer. What are you guys going to do? Are you thinking about driving toward the launch site, or just are you close enough? Jordan, I'm not sure how close you are.
Our entire office is going to go.
Really?
We're going to wake up early and we're going to drive out there. We've been talking about it since it happened, and I think everyone's going to be going from Orlando. They're trying to encourage you not to go, but the beaches are open. Florida is, we're Florida, so we're open. So I think it's going to be packed. But yeah, there's no way I'm going to miss this. And two, you know, I won't get too into it. Chuck, we talked, you know, before the show, like we just keep everything from this world, like all negativity out of it. But I think that, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I am absolutely not, but I have like a very bad conspiracy with everybody from the administration to Elon about why this is being rushed. But I think that, to sum it up, I think it's being rushed. But I'm going to rush over to the beach. I don't know where I'm going to go yet, so I don't know where I'm going to watch. But
are you going to have your red camera?
I won't have the red. No,
No.
it's too hot.
Wow.
Just that was fun, but we're just gonna go and I think just enjoy it. It's there's people in that, which is just it's so different. There's people in it. Like every time, it's like, all right, cool, there goes the food, but now like, oh, there goes a human.
Wow.
Like, so that's gonna be really cool.
So that's going to be amazing. You brought something up. I just want to say, we heard that of all timing in the world, we've got NASA's chief of human spaceflight, Doug Navarro, resigned a week before launch.
Mm.
They say it's not related to Crew Dragon at all. It might have something to do with Artemis and stuff like that. But a week before launch, this happens. What do you guys think about
Weird.
that? Anybody?
Sketchy.
Yeah,
I mean,
it doesn't seem
that-
right.
that
It
kind of-
seems. Oh,
Go ahead, Danielle.
I was just going to say, isn't that seem like what's been happening for the last couple of years is like, it's like all of a sudden big heads of state organizations, whatever, step aside at a very weird moment in time. And you're thinking, what is happening? And there's no transparency. Like we're not getting any answers. And I think it's really unnerving, but it feels like it's the sign of the times. Like this is happening, not just in NASA, but in all kinds of different governments and whatnot. It's very weird.
I thought it was weird too. Go ahead, Jordan. Sorry.
Thanks, Chuck. I think, Danielle, your point, we're not essentially owed an answer as to why he resigned, but it is unnerving. And I don't think they'll ever tell us because you can go the route, like, did he misbehave, last Monday? Did he do something terrible? Is this because he doesn't agree with, his bosses? It's just like, where does it go? And we'll never know. And obviously, God forbid something terrible happens on Wednesday or Saturday, then we're going to know. But let's just hope we never find out.
Yeah, I thought what was weird about it is he's only been in the position for 6 months. So there's part of me that goes, maybe he's just not that good at it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea about him. I mean, I feel bad for saying that, but I'm thinking it's 6 months you've been in a job. Do you either something that we don't know, or just maybe you're just not that great at your job, and maybe it's just not a good fit. And NASA's kind of, you need to get moving on here. I don't know. Anyone else have thoughts on that one?
Maybe he saw something and he was like, oh, I don't want, to Jordan's point about conspiracies, maybe he saw something. He was like, oh, I don't want to be a part of this. I'm getting out. But
that's what I think.
Hopefully that's not the case.
Right.
Well,
logically,
go
none
ahead,
of that
Jason.
makes sense, really. Like, to use kind of a bad analogy, it's like the coach of a team quitting the week before the Super Bowl. It doesn't make any sense, right? This is the big dance. Why are you not going to be here for it? And you could go down whatever rabbit holes you wanted to as far as conspiracies, but from the outside looking in with no details, that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
It was weird. Let's go positive now. Let's talk about the coolness, if I can, of SpaceX. All right. We have the astronauts. They're not going to be riding in the Astrovan this time. They're going to be riding in a Tesla.
Really?
That's the thing they did. They got a Tesla that has the worm on the back, and it's the whole thing.
No way. That's great.
Now, Jordan, you gave a thumbs down. Are there any Tesla fans out? Anyone thinks that's kind of cool? I mean, they got the new uniforms that we all can say, hey.
I think it's kind of cool. I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine in my head Elon Musk being proud of his astronauts riding up to the pad in anything but that.
True.
Yeah. But the Astrovan is historic. It's like that's the thing.
It's iconic.
Yeah.
Chuck and I got to go on the one that Boeing has built for the Starliner cruise, and it's awesome. Man.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. I don't know. I love how SpaceX does it because, they have, like I said, they're doing it differently. I mean, also the Falcon 9, several of us here, Jason, I don't know if you've seen a Falcon 9 up close, but the rest of us, we saw a Falcon 9 when we saw that CRS-15 mission. What we didn't see during that NASA social that some of us have been fortunate to see since then is the booster actually coming back and at least landing at sea, which is what this one's going to do. So again, another first for SpaceX. We're launching people this time. The booster's going to return, land on the ship. Of course, I Still Love You. Even their names are creative.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
if you
that
want to
guy is
talk
a
about,
marketing genius.
Yeah.
if you want to talk about catching the younger generation too, I think, Jeremy, like you were saying, my daughter is all about Tesla and she's 13. So them rolling up in a Tesla might actually catch, you know what I mean? That younger
That's a really good
generation
point.
of people like, oh, this is really freaking cool.
Yeah, that's a really good. Like even me just hearing that, I was like, wow, that's to Jordan's point. Like the van is so iconic, but visualizing these astronauts driving up in a Tesla and then going like that's so freaking cool.
You know, there's going to be lots of media cameras on that too, I would
Oh
think.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Well, if you
marketing
think
genius.
back-
He's sent one into space too. He's a genius.
Yeah, true.
Right. That's what I was
Astro
going
Man.
to say. I had the opportunity to go to that first Falcon Heavy launch,
Oh, cool.
and I sat 3 miles across the water from the pad, you know, and the buzz just about that created, that he put his car as the payload, it was unreal. And the crowds of people that flocked to the Cape that day were, you know, unlike anything I ever seen. I would imagine it's very reminiscent of, you know, the Saturn launches in the 60s, but it was unbelievable how many people were out there.
Hey,
I think
Jordan,
what
how
he's
long,
done. What's that,
Jordan,
Josh?
how long have you been in Florida?
Still
Okay.
born.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask this, because all of us, Jason had a good point on this. I saw, you know, I felt I was too young for the wonderful NASA excitement of the moon landings, but I saw the space shuttle come to life in the early 80s and all my life basically. But I also saw, in my opinion, NASA kind of diminish in terms of importance, I guess, to the generations that were out there. But then in the last few years, there's been this wonderful, what I feel is a wave of excitement coming back. To me, it feels like SpaceX had a lot to do with that. Do you, what are your feelings, Jordan, being a native of Florida, about that?
I think that it wasn't, I think SpaceX has done so much for it now, but I think that, you know, for me growing up, I can't remember a time when it wasn't a launch, or, you know, one of the 90s. So we would always go out to the spot in our neighborhood and we could see, you know, just a blip in the skyline. But what I think the most important thing was about, you know, 2011, I think it was 2013, NASA free-ranged their logo. So that shirt you're wearing, Chuck, like that is not a NASA shirt. It's a licensed shirt. So they gave their licensed logo to anything and everyone. It was selective. Now it's to whoever it wants. So I think that started building it. And then when Elon wanted to go into space, this whole SpaceX thing was something else. But everyone's so used to rockets in Florida, but it wasn't until that thing just landed where it was like, whoa. And then it really just blew up. That's what I think.
Dude, that's such a good point. Like, it's literally like a meme in the fashion industry, how so many young people wear a NASA logo, but like if you ask them any question past like the NASA logo, they won't be able to answer, but they just like the iconic vintage hipster NASA type of style. Like, that's a really good point. I guess it makes sense that they gave out, you know, that copyright, you know, license to all these different e-commerce stores or fashion, you know, lines. Like,
yeah, it was just the thing they did. And then I think too, you know, SpaceX is something else, and I think we've all experienced it, is that people on NASA Social are die-hard Elon fans. They have the Tesla, they wear the shirt, they have the hat, they have the bat. Like, it's they wear the shirt to the concert type of people. Where they like anything Boeing, anything Blue Origin, they're like anti that, or even anti-NASA. So somehow he's gotten them to just be. I can't tell you the amount of divorcee dads I've been on NASA Social who have spent all of their money into Tesla and SpaceX gear.
Yeah, that's true. And we've mentioned NASA Social a lot, but one thing that I didn't really do is sort of define. So there's probably some viewers out there, listeners out there that don't know what NASA Social is. Who wants to take that? Just give me a 2-minute overview for what NASA Social is in your best marketing terms ever. No hands go up. Danielle, tell the audience about NASA Social, about what drew you to what it is.
So it's a program through NASA in which you apply to be able to go and watch the launches. And during that time period, you are basically, what is it, like 2.5 days or so that we are given like backstage passes essentially to all of the buildings and all of the cool things that are going up on the current launch. And then we get to watch the launch live. And during all of that, we are basically taking pictures and using social media to blast out their cause and what they're doing. So yeah, it's super exciting. Get to sit on NASA TV and ask questions.
It is great, and anyone can apply. That's if you have a social following that helps you out, but you don't have to have 50,000 people that follow you. Trust me.
Right.
You can apply, and it's kind of cool. You get treated like a member of the press. You even get to go, like you said, to the press conferences. It is fantastic. I think it's a phenomenal experience. All right, so let's go back to this amazing launch. One thing I thought was unusual about Crew Demo is that they don't even know how long they're going to stay at the International Space Station. In fact, they're not going to determine that until they're in orbit. It can be anywhere from 30 to 119 days.
What?
Isn't that weird?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'd heard
They're
some-
not going in there. They're not in there. They're not going to get it. None of this makes sense to me. What?
I love how you speak from the heart. That's so true.
Yeah, like, well, you're going to space. Well, how long are we going for? Not
We don't know.
sure.
That's crazy.
Everybody knows.
Well,
Do they know they're coming?
It's like
They
some Star
said-
Wars type stuff.
that's true. What if they don't let them in? Oh my gosh. No,
Yeah,
they say it's to judge the health of the crew capsule in space.
Huh.
Wait, say that again,
Because-
Chuck. What's that?
They say that they're going to determine how long they stay based on how healthy the Crew Dragon spacecraft is.
Interesting.
how healthy it is. What are they expecting? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's a weird phrase.
Like,
you better
they
hope
didn't
it's
take
really
the
healthy
vitamins?
because it's
Okay,
two people's
here-
survival depend on it.
There you go. Here's my geekdom on this. It's designed to last 210 days in space.
Yeah.
That matches the lifespan of Russia's Soyuz spacecraft.
Right.
But again, they want to make it to orbit first and then just evaluate it and say, okay,
Make it to orbit?
yeah,
Is it guaranteed?
I hope. Nothing's guaranteed in space. You know
Oh,
that.
yeah.
You can't even guarantee the launch date.
I feel
Oh,
like
man.
if you're the astronaut getting on this thing, you are really a risk taker. Like
Seriously.
you're not sure what's happening here. Like this is like super risky.
I feel like if you're
More
not
so
the
than
astronaut
normal.
getting on, yeah, if you're not the astronaut that made this cut, you're like, yes.
Doug Hurley, who's the
Let's talk-
commander.
Let's talk about these amazing astronauts. Okay, we have
Yeah.
Doug Hurley, Bob Behnken. These are really neat guys. They graduated NASA class of 2000. I'm showing my geekdom. They actually, both of their wives, they were also astronauts in the same class of
No
2000
way.
of NASA astronauts,
Really?
Wow.
which
That's
is
awesome.
so cool. I think
Wow.
that's so cool. I was just watching this thing. They both have kids, and I believe they both have kids. But I mean, one of them has a 6-year-old and one of them has a 10-year-old, if I imagine right. So I mean, these are family dads. These are going into space, and they don't know how long they're going to stay. And
I don't
think
even know if
that's
they're gonna
interesting.
get there.
Because Doug was literally like a colonel in the Marines. Like they always know the rules of engagement. They know
Yeah.
every single plan back. The back palm of their hands. Like I'm surprised. Doug is like. Of course, I don't know anything about astronauts and their mindset, but I mean, that's just really interesting that they don't know how long they're going to be in orbit or up there until they get into orbit. That's interesting.
yeah, I had to double check. Anyone else have thoughts on that? That's crazy.
I think that I think that they know it's the job they signed up for, and especially with our plans to go to the moon and to colonize Mars. You never know, we'll go on to Earth real quick, so it just, this could become, the future, but also for them, they're the first from America in 11 years. They're the first in those new suits. They're the first with Elon in charge. Who's not to say he doesn't have remote control that. But my question is, do they get Teslas?
You got to at least get a discount, right? The family discount.
Well, because you're not allowed to give veterans free things for being a veteran or active military. You can't give active military. They're technically active military, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
How'd they do it in the
Space
60s? Because
race.
didn't all the Mercury...
They got all the Corvettes. Yeah. I don't know. So many questions, Chuck.
I know. I just think that's so cool. Jason, what do you think? We haven't designed a new spacecraft to launch people on it for like 39 years. I mean, they had the Mercury spacecraft, they had Gemini, they had Apollo, they had the space shuttle. That's been it for America until now.
Man, it's exciting. And you think that there's two being built right now, right? You've got the SpaceX Dragon, Crew Dragon, and then the Starliner, their competition essentially, and then whatever Blue Origin is building as well, you know? So it's pretty cool, man. Like I love that they split the contract and they created competition, because I think competition fuels innovation. Yeah. You know, both of these companies wanted to be the first. It looked like Boeing at one point was on a trajectory to be that company. And, you know, things happened, you know, during the launch that you and I were at. And now SpaceX has slid into that spot. And I don't know, man, the capsules themselves, they look so sci-fi with all of, I guess because everything was so analog historically, everything else was analog, and all these have, you know, digital interfaces and touch screens and all that, the cool stuff that they made films about in the 80s, you know, like their visualization of what things would be like in the future. That's what all this stuff looks like to me, you know. Even the crew access arm looks like something from a movie. It doesn't look like anything that should exist, but it's pretty exciting, man. I like it.
It does. And you brought up, you know, the commercial crew program. Now, you know, Jason and I were on Boeing Starliner social program, and that was a great mission up until it didn't quite make its destination.
It was great until it didn't work.
Yeah, and we actually have so much respect for the people that we met from Boeing. I mean, you just can feel how hard they worked, and that must have been so disappointing to them. But what are you guys' other thoughts on the commercial commercial crew program? Because again, this isn't a NASA-built spacecraft. This is commercial. You know, it's designed to make them compete, bring the cost down, and to get something a little bit quicker than sometimes NASA does. I bring to mind the SLS. What are your thoughts on the commercial crew program? Anyone?
I think that eventually it will fizzle out and everything will go back under NASA.
Really?
Yeah, because there's too much control. You know, if we are going to run these missions, you know, the SpaceX team will have to hand over, you know, a good percentage of that to NASA to operate and take control of it. Eventually, someone's going to disagree somewhere. They're going to realize this isn't going to work long term, especially when we're going to do something we haven't do, like go to Mars. You know, NASA may have another course while SpaceX has another one, and I think that's when private space fields will come into play. And, you know, Cape Canaveral is just NASA, and then there's, you know, Point Orlando launch pad where they're launching from Orlando. You know, I think that's a strong possibility.
Wow. Jeremy, what do you think?
I kind of like that, you know, private is going to be taking over. I think competition is a good thing for innovation and technology. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about sending humans into space, and there's international waters that can have opinions about things. So I think there's a safer route with it all being like centralized on one organization like NASA. But I think if I were to think about the future with like big, ginormous goals that we have, like colonization on Mars, different stuff like that, I think, you know, privatizing all this kind of stuff and letting these billionaire playboys like Jeff and Elon and these other people just kind of of course, with all the safety precautions that they need, and probably maybe more safety precautions, but just kind of let themselves get into like, not a fight, but in that like safe, you know, competition and, you know, pushing us forward in the space race. So
I have a different take on the commercialization of this. I think it's actually really great. I really think that allowing people's creativity to come out and having that drive of like, oh, well, what are they going to come up with? And I want to come up with something cooler that goes, you know, that does this or that. I think that kind of drives, it's almost like the space race within our own country, right? Going back to that 60s mentality again, right? And it's really, to me, so my husband works in robots And, like he's always doing, their company is always bidding against other companies for pieces of a bigger project, right? And I think that having that open market, it kind of creates more, I guess some newer technology, or it just pushes the limits of what you can do. And to Jeremy's point, allowing, some of the big players to fund that rather than, it be all under the government or NASA or whatever, just makes sense to me. I think getting to the moon is super exciting, and I think that having that innovation of something new and exciting, and being able to literally create something in your own mind, and having all these creative minds be able to do that, I think that's really exciting. And when you're doing those, at least with my husband and his projects, there's always oversight as to what it does. He does a lot of government contracts, and there's always oversight as to what has to happen to make things safe. So I think that that's just built in naturally into any type of robotics that you're doing.
See, I love that. I was thinking as you were talking about that, I used to say this, I'm 52 years old. Hard to say. But I remember when I was 5 years old, I think 4 or 5, whatever, going outside, I looked up at the moon and my neighbor's like, there's people on there. I'm like, really? Wow, I was so fascinated. And then I look around and I see this whole generation since then that has no concept of what it was like to look up at the moon and know that people were there.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's the pale blue dot, right? You turn around and what a like to behold, to be able to stand on the moon and look back at the blue dot, right?
Do you guys believe it happened?
Yes,
I do.
Absolutely.
I wondered about that because, again, I don't know. I was watching when Bob and Doug landed at Kennedy Space Center, and they were giving their talk about what it's going to be like to go up in this spacecraft. I was thinking back to the space shuttle in 81. Yes, I remember that well, too, where they had Bob Crippen and John Young that went up. And I was just thinking, I was just getting so excited that finally this generation is going to see and feel what it's like to have that, I guess, American pride, for lack of a better term, or just pride in general about saying, wow, here we go. We're going to do this seemingly, or hopefully do this amazing feat of sending people back up. That's what it means to me. What do you guys think about that? Because you were around sort of after the space shuttle was already going. What are your feelings? Here we go.
I think one of the things that Jason said was really interesting is like, we need a win. Like humans, America, like we just need a win right now. To what Daniel said, just so many things are shitting right now, shitting the bed. So if we can get a win that we can all rally behind, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think with like American pride, Elon Musk is an American citizen. He wasn't born here. He was in South Africa.
Yeah.
So I think that, it's hard to get American pride behind a privatized company, for me at least. And it's more like, for NASA instead. So when it's a NASA, like fully NASA launch, that's where I'd be. But I get that sense of Florida pride. All eyes are on us, and it's not because some kid drank some bath salts and ate the groceries for him, man. Which is a real story.
So true. Yeah, that's true. Florida man.
All right. Closing thoughts. Let's go around the room. And just last thoughts here, basically on Elon Musk, on Crew Demo-2. What do you think? What are you hoping to see? What do you want to expect, or any just words that you want to say to our audience? Jason, why don't we start with you?
I think we've talked a little bit about Elon Musk and whether some people like him, some people don't, specifically when he says things that seem nonsensical on Twitter. But you can't deny the fact, the effect that guy and his ideas have had on the space program and where the future of that is headed. Clearly a visionary, and I think there's something to be said about that. there can be a million people that sit around and have good ideas about what to do, but then there are the people that have those ideas and then facilitate them and put them into motion, right? And he wanted to be in the commercial space business and built a company that has done it in ways that, the guy lands rockets on land a few miles from the pad they launched from. It's unbelievable, Wow. And or on a drone ship, which is even kind of crazier, right?
Yep.
But I'm excited for this. I think that this is kind of the first step. Everything up to this point has kind of been proving the capability of Falcon 9 and all that. They've delivered supplies to the space station and stuff, but they've also had some failures, right? There's compilation videos you can go on YouTube today and watch rockets blowing up on the pad or whatever, or blowing up on landing. But they've had those failures to get to the point where they believe it will be successful, and that's what I'm hoping for, man. I want this to be successful, and I'm ready for this whole program and the programs of its partners to move forward.
Excellent, Jeremy. How about you? Closing remarks.
I'm not going to lie. After this and listening to Jordan share insights, I'm a little more anxious, like a little bit more nervous, but I'm optimistic and I'm excited.
Excellent, Jordan. What are your closing thoughts?
I mean, I'm excited for the launch. I think it's going to be really exciting. It's just a couple days away, but and to Jason's point, Elon Musk is a genius. He didn't start at SpaceX. He started at PayPal, right? Is that where he started?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, like he wasn't like how he is on Twitter then, and maybe he's not actually like that in real life. Maybe it's just a facade for marketing, where it's a genius. He is a genius. So I mean, there's nothing against him. I like how NASA did it in the '60s. The final thing I'll say is, if you haven't watched the CNN documentary Apollo 11, you need to watch it immediately.
I'll 100% agree with that. Absolutely amazing.
Excellent.
Just the greatest thing I've ever watched.
Apollo 11 CNN.
All right.
Yeah, it's 240 hours of lost footage that was labeled wrong that they found, and they put together a natural documentary, all natural, no narration. It is amazing.
Wow.
And the footage is high. I mean, it's restored to basically high definition. It's like you're watching a documentary about the 60s filmed with the technology of today. It's unreal.
Jeez.
Wow.
It's so cool.
That is amazing. I have not seen that.
Yeah,
Danielle?
they have Eagle capturing Columbia.
Ooh, that sounds awesome. Danielle, what are your closing thoughts?
I love innovation. I'm excited for the innovation that has come forward with Elon Musk and just the whole race. I'm cautiously optimistic. Jordan has definitely made me feel a little optimistic about it.
I didn't mean to do this. I'm sorry.
It's not just you, Jordan. It's also 2020. Like this year, I was so excited for this year, and it's like every month something more crazy happens. So I'm just, I'm hopeful that I just want everybody to be safe, clearly, and make it up and back. And, I wish they had, they knew how long they were going to be in space. I wish there weren't so many question marks in the equation. But I'm also really excited that we're actually launching humans from U.S. soil again.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm so excited about that. But I'm also excited that at least in these crazy times, we can connect like this. I miss all of you. It was so good hanging out with you to see these rockets go up. I wish we could be there together in person, celebrating this occasion and hoping it'll work. I was more confident too before this, Jordan. Oh my gosh, it's a rocket. There's always chances. So I'm praying for these guys to just get up there and come back safely. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Whenever that may be, yeah.
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
going to hashtag thanks, Jordan.
I didn't mean to make everyone nervous. Just telling you what I thought.
No, I appreciate the
We're all
info.
cautiously optimistic, so it's a good thing. But again, it's so good connecting with all of you. I just want to thank you all for taking time to spend this time with us.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck.
Chuck.
Your space journey.
Wow, what a fascinating discussion it was today regarding the SpaceX Crew Demo-2 mission. We are so excited about this. I want to thank my friends Jason, Danielle, Jeremy, and Jordan for joining me today to discuss this historic mission. We're so excited about it. We want to wish Godspeed to Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley on this incredible mission. Again, you'll see it all over the place, but if you want to tune in or find out more, just go to nasa.gov. At any rate, thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you next time. God bless.